There's growing outrage surrounding the chair umpire who made controversial calls against Serena Williams at the U.S. Open women's final on Saturday. The tennis star was ultimately fined $17,000. The head of the Women's Tennis Association believes the umpire held the tennis star to a harsher standard because she's a woman. Serena said the same thing. And now others are lining up behind Williams. CBS This Morning Saturday co-anchor Dana Jacobson has more.
I don't cheat to win, I'd rather lose. I'm just letting you know.
Serena Williams' first rules violation, coaching from the stands. Her second infraction, breaking her racket, which cost her a point. But Williams' biggest penalty Saturday was for calling chair umpire Carlos Ramos a thief. She was penalized a game, giving her opponent, Naomi Osaka, a 5-3 lead in the second set. Williams' appeal was rejected.
There's a lot of men out here that have said a lot of things, and because they're men, that doesn't happen.
She eventually lost in straight sets. After the match, Williams' coach admitted to helping her, but she denies seeing it.
I was coaching. I don't think she looked at me, but I was like 100% of the coaches on 100% of the matches.
Fans booed during the trophy ceremony. Osaka, the 20-year-old first-time champion, was in tears.
I just want to tell you guys, she played well, and this is her first Grand Slam.
I know that everyone was cheering for her, and I'm sorry it had to end like this.
On Twitter, tennis legend Billie Jean King said female players are treated unfairly when they show emotion. When a man does the same, he's outspoken, and there are no repercussions, she wrote. Former tennis star James Blake noted that Williams didn't threaten or curse at Ramos.
I've definitely done worse. I've seen others do much worse and not get penalized, and I think there just needs to be consistency.
Ramos is considered one of the most experienced match officials and has penalized male players.
He's never took a game from a man because they said thief. For me, it blows my mind.
Docking a player a game during a Grand Slam final is virtually unheard of. The U.S. Tennis Association would not make the umpire available for interviews, but indicated that he did nothing wrong. Williams' $17,000 fine will be deducted from her runner-up prize of $1.8 million. Dana Jacobson, CBS News, New York.
For more, let's bring in Renee Graham from Boston. She's an associate editor and columnist for the Boston Globe. Renee, as we saw in Dana's package, a lot of people, including Billie Jean King, seeing sexism here, but others, including King's contemporary Mary Carrillo, said this was not sexist. It was an umpire responding to abuse from a player. What was your impression?
I did think sexism played a role in it. I don't think there's really any question about that. I think what James Blake said was true. I think that there have been a lot of men on the tennis circuit who have said and done far worse than what Serena Williams did and weren't penalized a point, let alone a game. So I think it's impossible and sort of absurd to say that sexism didn't play a role in this.
So Carlos Ramos, the specific umpire, has been very strict in his implementation of many rules. He penalized Andy Murray for calling him stupid. He penalized Rafa Nadal for not serving quickly enough. Why do we think this was a sexist umpire rather than a strict umpire?
I really felt like he does have the reputation for being strict, and that's fine. But I think when you're talking about a final, as she didn't swear at him, she did not call him a jerk, she did not, call him stupid. She simply disagreed. And, early on, this began with the fact that she felt as though he was calling her a cheater. So she was defending her honor, and she wanted an apology for that and wanted to make it abundantly clear that she was not taking coaching cues from her coach in the stands.
Does it matter at all that the coach admitted that he was coaching her?
I think it was interesting that the coach said that. He didn't try to deny it, but he said he did what 100% of coaches do 100% of the time. Now, if that's an issue in tennis, then move the coaches to a place where players can't readily see them. But this idea that if you happen to look in the stands and your coach is making some motion, that somehow makes it clear that he's coaching you, and then penalizing is sort of ridiculous. There's no proof that she saw him doing anything. And he said he's not sure that she did see him, but I think for the chair umpire to make that comment, yeah, he was impugning her honor.
And one double standard that clearly does exist is this strange situation where on the women's tour they're allowed to receive coaching during the match, but not during the Grand Slam event. So that sets up a weird dynamic. But I want to make this a little broader because I feel like the reason this is getting so much attention is kind of some of the larger issues it brings up. Billie Jean King wrote, "Women," this is in the Washington Post, "women are treated differently in most arenas of life." Can you talk about to what extent this is a chance just to talk about broader sexism in America, in sports, and what you think that conversation should look like?
Well, here we get that kind of opportunity that we also got when the Me Too movement really took off last fall. That was never just about sexual misconduct in Hollywood or in very lofty media circles. It was also about how women in every walk of life are treated. It's the same conversation people are having now. Most women will never step foot on a tennis court or play in a Grand Slam, but they certainly know how it feels to not be heard, to be demeaned, to be punished when they speak out. That's what the conversation has to be now. That's what people are really talking about. So, it's about tennis, but it's about far broader things beyond the world of sport.
Yeah, and Serena tried to make this argument in the press conference after, saying this didn't work out for me, but hopefully because of what's happened to me and the attention it's drawing, it'll be different for the next woman who faces this. Do you think this has been a useful conversation, a productive conversation on these topics?
Maybe. Time will tell. We always have to, it's not decided like, well, we're talking about this now, we've therefore solved the problem.
Sure.
We're talking about issues that are really sort of ingrained into the DNA of this country and into the DNA of the way industries work. So it starts the conversation, but it has to be more than just people talking about these issues. There has to be some kind of actual action
right. The
to
step
make sure this doesn't happen again.
The step two is always so hard. Outrage is so easy and so common, and productive conversations seem so rare. I'm curious if you have any take on what step two should be in a situation like this. What is the next conversation we need to have?
It's weird. On one hand, I think we need to keep having these conversations, but I also know that I get tired of talk because people think the talk itself is the action.
Yeah.
Once you get past these sort of superficial conversations, then you really need to talk about how do you change environments and workplaces to create scenarios where women feel comfortable that they can argue with their boss and they can dispute something a male coworker says and they're not going to be punished for it. That there has to be some sort of action on that beyond just having these conversations.
Well, we were limited to a conversation, but I'm glad we had it. Renee Graham, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.